going on, guys? Welcome on back to Second and Short and this week's episode of Monday Movers, or just playoff review. My name is Tyler Lauder, joined with my co-host Aaron Ben, and we are going to break down the NFC and AFC championship games as we move towards Super Bowl Sunday. Now, let's just go ahead and jump right into these. Let's not dance around this anymore, you know. Tom Brady, Tampa Bay Buccaneers took down the Green Bay Packers yesterday in the first game, and this game looked close at the beginning, then Tampa Bay ran away, and then all of a sudden Green Bay tried coming back. But there was some questionable play calling here. What was your thoughts on yesterday's game as a whole?
Yeah, I thought it was a great game as a whole. I mean, I always say, as long as it's not my team and as long as it's not a team that I hate, when you're going into the playoffs, all you can really hope for is just a great game all around. And this was a game that at halftime kind of looked like maybe it was going to be a blowout, but Packers came back in the third quarter, helped out by some interceptions off of Tom Brady. And ultimately it came down to just kind of a blown play call on 4th and 12. At the end of the game, and yeah, I mean, sucks to be a Packers fan, but that's how it is. I'm just glad we had a great game.
No, exactly, and I agree. In the first half, it looked like things weren't. It's pretty much second quarter. Things weren't going Green Bay's way. I mean, interception where there could have been a holding call. We have a fumble, and Aaron Jones actually fumbled twice. One of them was just recovered by Green Bay, and then the third quarter it was like the opposite. It was just a collapse of Tampa Bay for a second, letting them back in. Now, the thing here, and everybody's been saying it over the past 24 hours, is the fact that Tom Brady didn't play that well. He didn't do that great. I mean, he still had 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. He just had like a 9-minute period where he was not good at all. But the rest of the game, he was fantastic. And Aaron Rodgers was really good. And the biggest thing here is we have to look back at what we were talking about on our last episode. And a key to victory that we had for Tampa Bay, you did, was that the wide receivers had to play better. And they did. Chris Godwin, 5 catches, 110 yards. Like, you know, these guys all played really well.
Yeah, like you said, receivers really stepped up. There was, I think, 4 catches between all of the tight ends, including a touchdown pass to Brady. But yeah, Mike Evans had 3 catches, had a touchdown. Scotty Miller had that really big touchdown catch at the end of the first half when everyone kind of thought maybe the Bucs were just going to go for the long field goal to get some points on the board, but ended up going for it all. And yeah, it's like we said, because we're freaking geniuses. The wide receivers needed to step up, and that's what they did, even without Antonio Brown.
You mentioned Scotty Miller, you mentioned Cameron Brate. Those are now the 33rd and 34th players to catch a touchdown from Tom Brady in the playoffs, which is obviously a record because Tom Brady owns every passing record in the playoffs. He's got 12 more than Drew Brees, and the way that their careers are looking right now, it looks like that streak is going to get extended. But that's just amazing. 34 different guys. That's kind of why whenever we talk about, or anybody talks about like Tom Brady, it's a system and in New England, blah, blah, blah. And I always say, if you go look at the guys' Super Bowl teams, it's like his supporting cast is almost different every time. There's a couple guys that are there for like 2 or 3, but they're different every time. You make it to 10 Super Bowls, it's not because all the other factors, like he's the common denominator here. Now, my key point to victory was that Tampa Bay needed to win the run game, both on defensively and offensively. They needed to outrush Green Bay and they needed to stop them. And while they only ran for 76 yards, they also were able to provide a rushing touchdown. They held Green Bay to even less yards, 67 yards.
Yeah, like you said, they didn't have a whole lot of yards on the ground. Fournette led the game with 55 yards on just 12 carries. He had a touchdown, this kind of nifty little run where he turned something into nothing for 20 yards.
Nice spin move, man.
In the beginning of the game. And yeah, they were able to control the run game of the Packers, which I think we also talked about in our review show, that if Aaron Rodgers wasn't getting things going, he may have to rely on the ground game. But they were able to get the Packers run game under control, and they were able to run the ball as well as they needed to themselves.
Now, for Green Bay, this whole game looked like it was getting out of hand for a little bit. You know, they once the second quarter happened and they started getting down, and then all of a sudden there was a bad call towards the end, and Tampa Bay decides to go for a touchdown anyways, and they get it, and then a fumble right away to start second half and touchdown. And it looked like it's over at this point, right? We've seen stuff like this, but they kept going. And the reason why they kept pushing and they're resilient and everything is because of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, this guy does not know when to quit. He's a great quarterback, even though he might not be the favorite of mine. I liked how he played throughout. Now, getting a little down here for us is the play calling in the fourth quarter. This is an issue. I mean, Green Bay had the ball for about 10 minutes longer than Tampa Bay. And the fact that they had a drive, 9 plays, got about 55 yards, and then decided to settle on a field goal, I think I kind of blame Aaron Rodgers. I blame the play calling, going for that field goal in the fourth quarter. Like, what are your thoughts on that? When you saw that, what was going through your mind?
Yeah, I thought it was a cowardly play call. LaFleur just tried to defend it after the game. I'll read you real quick the quote that he had, why he went for the field goal instead of the fourth down conversion. He said, "It was just the circumstances of having 3 shots and coming away with no yards, and knowing that you not only need the touchdown, but you need the 2-point conversion. The way I was looking at it was we essentially had 4 timeouts, and with the 2-minute warning, we knew we needed to get a stop, and I thought we were going to have a stop there at the end." And then he goes on to talk about the defensive pass interference call. In my eyes, it just kind of shows a real lack of situational awareness.
Yeah, the only thing that this does here is it makes the score line at the end look closer. That's really the only thing that happened here and change. Now, we can't throw all the blame on LaFleur and the coaching staff. I think Rodgers is to blame here as well. On third down, he breaks from his pocket, and I thought he was going to run it in. I was like, oh, he's going to run it right here. He's going to get close. It's going to be, maybe he'll get a touchdown. But he doesn't. He tries throwing it into a tight coverage, a tight window. It doesn't work for him. If Rodgers would have just had the awareness, big players make big plays on big days. If he would have just ran 3 or 4 more yards, that would have put him in a better position.
Even though they got the field goal, they still need a touchdown to win the game. They couldn't have gotten another field goal to tie it. Going for it on fourth down, even if they miss it, they still have to get the stop and get a touchdown. In any case, it just kind of showed to me a lack of confidence in his offense, which, as long as we're on the subject, that might be a little bit validated, because a huge part of this loss, in my opinion, was due to the fact that the offense was not able to capitalize off turnovers. They intercepted Tom Brady 3 times, 3 drives in a row, and they got 6 points off of that. So that's a huge disappointment, a huge problem for me. Anytime you intercept Tom Brady 3 times in a game, no less in a row, and you only get 6 points off of that, that's gonna be a problem. Like, I know Packers fans after the fact were complaining about the reffing, like the defensive holding that should have been called on the interception, or the kind of questionable pass interference they called on the last drive of the game. But when it comes down to it, the refs aren't the problem. The refs aren't the reason you scored 6 points off of 3 turnovers.
Now, you heard that Aaron Rodgers thought that wouldn't be his last chance, right? Like, tell me what you told me before we recorded.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers said after the game, kind of threw some shade at LaFleur. He said, I thought that we were going to have another chance. He kind of insinuated that he thought they would go for it on fourth down. Matt LaFleur had other plans. I think that kind of shows like a different problem. Usually a head coach and your quarterback or whoever's playing calls is going to have, like, they're going to be on the same page. Like, they're going to be like, all right, if this happens, then we'll do this. If we don't convert here, then we'll go for the fourth down and things like that. And this shows that they really weren't on the same page, which is just an entirely different problem. And with Rodgers, kind of, you wonder if that's actually true, or if Rodgers is just trying to take the responsibility off of him. It does create kind of a problematic situation there, in my opinion.
But that's just miscommunication. Like, I feel like head coaches and quarterbacks have to be on the same page at all times. And if an ego is an issue of this, or a lack of trust is an issue in this, then they got to get some couples counseling, and they got to fix that over the offseason if they're going to continue this relationship into the next year. Let's shift on over to the AFC, and let's talk about this AFC championship. Kansas City, the Bills. You predicted it right. I got it wrong. Neither here nor there. But Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, I mean, these guys are going to be staples of the AFC for the next decade. And Josh Allen did not play very well. He just came out and said it himself afterwards. It was on him. He didn't perform well enough for this team, and a couple bad decisions were on his part. He took full ownership. The Chiefs came out, played really well from the second quarter on. It was, they just got up to speed and then went on cruise control because they knew they were going to get to their destination at the end.
Yeah, and what was really impressive for me, I mean, of course you have Pat Mahomes throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. Of course you have Kelsey and Hill going for over 100 yards each. What really stands out to me is the defense. They were on Josh Allen all day, got continuous pressure on him. Intercepted him once, held him to kind of a relatively low completion percentage, under 300 yards, 4 sacks, pushed him back 53 yards on those sacks. And you had that really big sack that causes kind of ruckus towards like on the last couple of minutes of the game. It just seemed like every time they sacked Josh Allen is for like 15-20 yards, and they were in his face all day. Run game was actually better than we kind of expected, but overall it's a defense that stands out to me about this win, and props to Steve Spagnuolo for taking what was a joke of a defense 2 years ago and turning it into what it is today.
And I actually read a tweet, and it was Josh Allen ran backwards for more yards than he threw today. Like it just like made me laugh. No, I mean the defense played a lot better than you've been giving them credit for. I've been seeing everywhere they're like, oh man, the Chiefs are so top heavy on defense. They got a couple blue chip guys, they got some Pro Bowlers, but really the team is just a bunch of average Joes and everything. Here's the thing. If the culture is right, if the coaching is right, average Joes can sustain other teams from looking dominant. And I think the problem sometimes when you get these like big playmaking guys on your team is that sometimes they're too afraid to make a mistake. I mean, I'm not going to say they don't play their asses off, but I mean, they're more willing to give up pass interference because they don't want to get embarrassed because they have a legacy to uphold. Where other guys will just go for an interception because they're like, fuck it, I'm on a 1-year deal. I need to secure my bag. I think the whole defense played great. I mean, guys like Brashad Breeland, Anthony Hitchens, guys that are kind of just like, if you don't play like IDP in like fantasy world, or you don't like play Madden crazy, or you're not a Chiefs fan, you probably don't hear about these guys. And Breeland was a guy that was pretty good a couple years ago and then had this falling out, couldn't sign with anybody. Tyron Matthew is an all-star, but he's had his ups and downs in his career of not being able to play, and now he's back. Rookie L'Jarius Sneed has been playing really well all year. Yeah, 100%. And I just think everything's kind of coming out for them. And the fact that like Frank Clark, they traded for him, they cost him an arm and a leg almost in my eyes. But he came out and he balled out. He had 2 sacks today, and that's exactly what you want. Like if you're gonna have a defensive end that's gonna cost you some money, cost you some draft capital, he's got to perform in the playoffs because that's how you win games.
Yeah, and also I just want to say real quick, I know we said we're kind of used to like the Chiefs offense coming out and doing what they do, and we were more impressed by the defense today, but Pat Mahomes going out there and balling out like he did, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions on turf toe, which is, from what it sounds like, is pretty bad, and he's probably going to have surgery in the offseason. That's really, really impressive to me, and that shows that he just takes it to another level in the NFL.
Yeah, I feel like people hear turf toe and they don't understand like how much that actually hurts, like constant like burning sensation and just planting hurts.
And building off what we talked about with the Chiefs' defense is kind of like the opposite, the reverse of that is the Bills' offense was really disappointing for me today. Their kicker Tyler Bass has been pretty good on the year. Went 4 for 4 on field goals, which just tells me that they did not get in the end zone enough. Ended up losing by 14 points. So that's 4 times that they didn't get into the end zone. And if you want to beat this high-powered, like extremely, extremely volatile Chiefs offense, then you have to score touchdowns. You can't just settle for the field goal.
No, and Sean McDermott said after the game that when somebody was like, why were you just like kicking away your chances and everything, like trying to be like an ass of a reporter instead of just like asking an honest question, like he just said, I just wanted to get points. Like I didn't want to leave points on the board, which first half, I get it. First half, I'm not against that. Going for those field goals makes sense. I mean, one of them was a 51-yard field goal to start off the game, but you know, kicking these field goals, in my opinion, when you have the lead is okay or within range. But once you get into the third and fourth quarter, I feel like you kind of got to push and you've got to take risks because at the end of the day, they lost by 14. And you know what? If they would have lost by 30, it's the same goddamn score. Like it's still a loss. Like when you look at the game, it's a loss. So,
and just kind of as a whole, like we talked about this in the preview episode, that like the Chiefs are a better coached team in my opinion, not by a lot, but they're also better prepared. They've been here before, just coming off that Super Bowl win. They know they know what mindset you need to be in for this game. The Bills, it kind of looked like they came out and we're just happy to be there. Like they had a great unexpected season and we're happy to be where they are. And that's it felt like it kind of transferred into how they played. And the Chiefs, on the other hand, knew what kind of mindset they needed to be and knew how they needed to play in order to win. And that's what they did.
Yeah, and we are going to be setting up with a great matchup now. You know, that's what we got there. That's it for our review on those games. But this matchup going forward, I'm excited for it. I'm excited. We're going to talk more about this in our next episode and everything and next week and stuff like that. And be on the lookout. Super Bowl week coming up. We are going to have multiple video, lots of content. We're going to be covering this as if we are the big dogs. So thank you guys for tuning in and listening. Be sure to click that subscribe button down below to stay up to date on everything that is second and short, including our mega Super Bowl coverage week. And leave a like down below. It's the cheapest way to support us. We'll appreciate it. We're happy. But leave a comment down below. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear who impressed you and who disappointed you from this weekend. Do you think we're right on who's up? And do you think we're wrong on who's down? And if you guys want to check us out on other social media platforms, we are available on...
Catch us on Facebook, where we update every episode that comes out. We're also on Twitter, where we not only have every episode, but also with polls and trying to interact with all the fans and everything. And also on Instagram, where we have every episode that comes out, pick 'em games, or pick 'em in our story every week, news updates, injury reports, things like that. And feel free to send us a DM whenever you like, whatever platform, whatever time of day.
Thank you guys, and y'all have a great one. Time, day, thing.